Yeah. It's sort of on a, not, it's really the same area, but I just wanted to follow up on the email or the text they sent this week about, we're to a large extent, this whole discussion is about, behaviors, expectations, ethical coaching, good behavior by your players. And I just wanted to say again, and Rick hasn't heard this, but like I was, yeah, I was, I don't know, disappointed, taken aback, and it's an old school hockey thing, but the reaction by the Flames in their game against the Oilers to two thunderous but completely clean and legal hits by Jacob Trouba, their reaction on the part of, is Tanev, and I love Chris Tanev, and Dubé, and he's a tremendous player, and I think any team could find a role for him. They're great, great players, but their old school dinosaur mentality that the reaction to a good, clean hit that's part of hockey is you have to go and fight the guy, is to me Neanderthal and has no place in the game. Like what should have happened in that game was Kadri checked Trouba in the first period, and it was a borderline, maybe in my mind not borderline, but it was boarding penalty, checking from behind, and what we might call a dirty hit. To me, that's where the fight should have happened, not after a good, clean, solid body check. And that is bad behavior that filters down to minor hockey, that when there's a good, clean hit, somebody has to fight somebody. I've always hated that. I hated it when I was playing the game. I thought it was juvenile and, immature. And it's one of the things that has to come out of the game. Like,
did you read Kadri's comment on it?
No, I didn't, and I'm not really interested in his comment, but go ahead.
His comment was good, Tim. His comment said, he said it was a good hit.
Good.
He got me with my head down. I got up and I played.
Yeah, and so the next step has to be, you don't react that way to a good, clean hit. Now, if you think in the moment it might have been a dirty hit, I understand that. But, I don't know. I don't like to see that in the game. That's my soapbox for the day, I guess.
Rick, did you see that?
I saw part of it. I also saw the head dinosaur's reaction to it after the game. So
yeah,
that may be where some of it's coming from, Tim.
Well, absolutely. And
yeah,
we love Daryl. He's a great coach in his own way, but there are some Neanderthal parts of the game that kind of just.
That's probably a consequence of Daryl's presence and the old school philosophy. But my reaction was good on Dubé for supporting his teammates, and that's what it was all about. It was about your teammates,
but that's Neanderthal, Wally. It was a good.
I know it is. I know it is.
Hit. And that's the other thing that's disappointing to me is, of course, all of the press jumps on that same bandwagon. Oh, it's great. The Flames are sticking up for each other and everything else. It's like, I have no problem with them sticking up for each other, but not when it's really unwarranted. And this is my opinion. Like, I don't know. But it's not good for the game, I don't think, when it's a clean hit.
But question, Tim, was it unwarranted on the first viewing, or was it after several slow motion replays? Because I say that because on the hit not on Calgary, but the first hit, I forget who it was even on, but there was that extra little elbow quasi headshot that was there as well. And I'm suggesting that on first glance, it would come off in the heat of the moment as a dirty hit that needs to be addressed.
As I said, I understand that in the moment there's of course that big debate, but I mean, not that penalties are the definition, because we know they get it wrong in the moment sometimes too. But that is very true. Like you could in the moment look at either one of those hits and think, hey, that was a headshot on Kadri, but it wasn't, but it could have appeared that way.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I get that part of it, you know, so it's tough, but I guess beyond that, I think after the fact, when you look at the video and, if you see that, okay, it was a good clean hit, then the discussion on the part of the press and to Tom's point, maybe Kadri, hey, it was a clean hit. And then it should be, okay, our reaction was inappropriate if it was a clean hit. Like it's a tough thing, I know, but
I want to bring it back to the perspective of our group, not the hockey NHL reaction. And I'm bringing it back to the AAA midget level. I went to a game last night with Jordan watching the Buffaloes play against the Flames. And that's Kerry Bracco's son, who was selected Player of the Week in Western Canada in the AAA Midget League. He's had some outstanding performance. The last time they played the Buffaloes, there was some beaking going on. They were running each other, taking bad penalties. But after a goal, the Flames went ahead, and the same player who all year has done some stupid things went by their bench, shaking his finger, pointing at them, embarrassing them. It led to the most disrespectful game in terms of behavior on the ice, chirping, yelling, coaches yelling. It just got out of whack. Sunday, I went to watch them play the North Stars. Kerry's son had an exceptional game, and we went for supper with the family after and talked about how are they going to react when they played the Buffaloes like they did last night. And we talked about emotional control, which is in that Coach 3 module. You have to educate yourself about what you're talking about. And at that level, they can't fight, but they can't incite emotions. And if they do, they got to be in control of those trying to incite it. So I had this conversation at supper, and the game went on last night. And the same kid took a 4-minute penalty in the first, and they were up 2-0. And they managed to survive. I looked at the rule the coach had. If you get 2, you sit 2. If you get 4, you sit 4. You get 10, you sit 10. But he hasn't consistently applied the rule. That player got out the next shift. He didn't sit 4 minutes. He got out the next shift. And Kerry and I talked about it because that to me is leadership, a lack of leadership. And the game didn't go south. It was one of the best games I've seen. The Flames won the game. It was a back and forth effort. The first period was outstanding until that 4-minute penalty he took that overlapped. And the same player who's done that before has not been dealt with consistently, and that's on the coach. So players are going to do what you want them to do and what you let them do. So I think the NHL, Darryl coaching, it's okay. I understand where he's coming from. I don't believe in it, but in terms of the culture of that team, that's their culture. So,
well, it's not their team. In fairness, I think it's hockey. That's the hockey culture. If there's a good clean hit, you got to go fight somebody. And like Tom's response in the text, Rich Preston, known to say, well, you know what, guys, it ain't ring yet. So that's the way to react. Well, you flip that over, yeah, it's not ring yet. So if there's a good clean hit, it's not ring yet. It's part of the game. Like, why do you have to react that way?
No, good point.
It's and I assume you mean, Wally, that coach. If you get 2, you sit 2. If you get 4, you sit 4. That's sort of in. If you get 2 that are bad, undisciplined, penalties versus
Yeah,
just
behavioral penalties. I call it behavioral coaching.
yeah, behavior penalties, not penalties. We want to make that clear to coaches.
But the thing Preston was saying is, it's the other way that
I know.
Cadre responded. You do get hit. You got your head down, and you get hit. It's not ringette. You do get hit. You don't have to fight. That's what he was trying to say.
Yeah. So I misunderstood it. I thought he meant, well, it's not ringette, so the fighting is part of it. But
no, it's just
it's
that the game is rough. You got to expect it to something to happen.
And I totally agree with that. Like, and again, just to restate the obvious, like Rick is correct. Like in the moment, there might be, an error made, and you maybe want to see that reaction if it is a dirty hit. But when you see that it's not, there should be discussions on that point. But anyway,
Rick, the AAA story I told you, and even the flame story, from your experience, crossing of a line, behavior on the ice, disrespect to one another, trash talking. What have you gone through and experienced, and how have you dealt with it?
Well, as Tim alluded to, if the 4-minute penalty or the 2-minute penalty that he took, if it was for undisciplined play, and if he took a 2-minute tripping penalty, he's not going to apply that discipline of the second 2 minutes to that. It leaves him some latitude, but just speaking from afar.
I'll be back. I've got the repairman here. I'll be right back. Go ahead. I'll listen to it after. You can tell the group.
Fair enough. If you're going to have a rule and you've got a player who's consistently walking the line or just edging over the line or blatantly crossing the line, you need to discipline him. Otherwise, why have the rule?
Whomever.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, I was going to ask the question, where does this player stand? Is he a leading scorer, hot shot type player that, just expects to get special treatment, and do you accommodate that? Or is he just a 19th, 18th guy on the roster that I think a lot of coaches treat those two situations differently. In my experience and in my doing, I didn't care. Actually, I hoped it was the top end guy that tried to break a rule early, so I could put the message out there that we're quite sincere about this and we mean what we say, because everybody else gets that lesson too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I may have told this story before, but it was one of the greatest gifts for when I first started working with the national women's team in 2004. My very first camp with them. We had a couple of teams at camp. The Swedes were there, the Russians. We were playing a little tournament, and the team we were coaching. And I don't think Goyetti would mind me using her name, but quite innocently, she was late for a team meeting, on one of the days, and the coaches that were involved with the team, myself and I think it was Margot, maybe was the other coach, I'm not sure. We obviously decided, hey, it's Danielle Goyette. She's late for a meeting. We have to discipline her, because if it was somebody else, we likely would. We have to, talk to the team, talk to Danielle. Hey, Danielle, you're late for a meeting. You're going to sit out. I think it was, we made her sit out the first period or whatever it was. And it was actually one of the greatest gifts to the team as a whole, because here we had one of the greatest players in female hockey, the leader of our team. She's late for a meeting, and we imposed the penalty that we felt was fair, because it was an innocent situation. But it was a gift to the group that, okay, the rules apply to everybody, and not just some people, and it's critically important for all the coaches out there. And the other story I wanted to tell really quickly on this topic was, and I hope Wally comes back, but I was mentoring a AA team in Cochrane about 4 years ago when I was working with P3, and I was mentoring the Cochrane group, and they were playing a game, and there was a tremendous hit in the game coming across the middle. One of our guys on our team just completely annihilated one of the other players, and actually got a 5-minute major. It was a blindside hit, and which was the correct call. And to the other team's credit, even though in lots of ways it was a clean hit, but the referees chose to give him a 5-minute major. The other team reacted by getting in the player's face, pointing fingers, yelling, screaming, but there was no fight. There was no immediate, I'm going to come in and beat the crap out of you. And in lots of ways, it maintained the temperature of the game. It didn't get out of hand because A, a penalty was called for a very violent hit, but B, more importantly, the other team maintained their composure and made a statement in a positive way. And I remember going to the other team's coach after the game and saying how impressed I was with both him as a coach and as a staff, and as of their team, that they did react that way, and that they made their displeasure known, but they didn't let the behavior degrade to a very low level, come and